Will Goldstein here from thekingscourt.com. There's always a chance to hit that little button down there and subscribe if you like these videos. Again, I'm finishing up another album. There's been a little delay waiting for a couple of people to participate in that, but as soon as that's done, I'll get it out there. So anyway, this is called Abram's Descent into Egypt, and it's from the Zohar, the Book of Enlightenment. And this is all mystic. It's all based on mystical interpretations of historical facts and events that happened in the history. So there is an account in history of things happening. What does that mean, metaphorically or mystically, or however you want to look at it? So the primary verse in Abram's descent into Egypt is, "And Abram went down to Egypt," which is Genesis 12:10. The reason why he went to Egypt, by the way, which is not in this story, is because there was a famine in the land. And Egypt was a place sort of like the dark side. There was magic, Sitra Abra. Anyway, so it's a place of darkness. The story begins. Rabbi is basically saying, come and see, and then in everything you can find some sort of secret wisdom. So the Rabbi is hinting at the fact that Abram was at a certain level of wisdom, and there are levels down below that level of wisdom. And Abram, when he went to Egypt, he was descending down into that place sort of temptation where the dark side and all the magic was there and the wisdom of Egypt. And he went down there, but he remained true to God, to Yahweh, and he didn't really become attached to this dark side. He didn't follow the Egyptian wisdom. These were foreign gods that Abram was not going to lower himself to it. So he stayed committed to the face of the Lord. And he wasn't seduced, for example, in the same way that maybe Adam was seduced, or in their opinion that Noah was seduced, because Noah didn't try to save people, he just built the ark. This is their opinion. And then the rabbi starts talking about Adam, and that he was seduced by the serpent, and the result of that was that we are dragged down into basically the death of the world. And because, again, the dark side, and he didn't resist the temptation, and so now we have instead of the tree of life, you have the tree of death and original sin, and then of course implications that might come in Christianity for the tree of life, or Christ, and his dying for us and salvation, in opposition to what happened in the garden. So he was kind of like the second Adam. It's the restoration of humanity from the fall of what Adam did. Noah descended down into that level as well, and they give the story of him drinking wine, and he got drunk, and he was uncovered in his tent, and then basically there's a curse that ended up, and they didn't really go into this, but there's a curse that ended up on Canaan, who was the grandson of Noah, and because he didn't cover him. And so it's important to know that this grandson of Noah is Canaan, which is the land of Canaan, or Israel. So right off the bat we have this opposition between Israel and Canaan, and the descendants of Canaan, grandson of Noah, and this war and this battle that's been going on to this present day. And then it says that Abram went up from Egypt. Well, what they didn't tell you was the reason why he went up from Egypt. When he went down into Egypt, he was concerned about his wife Sarai, and it's Sarai at that time, because he's Abram, not Abraham yet. And so she's very beautiful, so he was concerned because she was so beautiful. So this is sort of his failing, Abram. He lied and said that she was his sister. Well, then she was up for grabs, and so the people reported it to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh thought she was incredibly beautiful, so he took her for his wife. Well, then he found out that she was already married, and he wasn't happy about that at all. And then he basically confronts Abram and says, why didn't you tell me that she was your wife? So, but anyway, he sent her away, because maybe for the sake of Sarah. He sent Abram back with Sarah, and that's why they left Egypt after the temptation that Abram failed, at least in my opinion. But, Pharaoh gave him a lot of cattle and all that, and they came back. Well, so it was basically temptation for Abram, and, in some sense I don't want to say he failed the test, but he did lie. He was being sent back, so he's headed back to the Negev. Abram did remain faithful to God, and he did come back. In stages, he went back to the Negev, which the Negev is the desert, and this is southern Israel area around there. And he journeyed by stages to get there, and it's a place of solitude for him. And then basically the story goes on and says, come and see, talking about the secret word that we should understand out of all this, that if Abram didn't go down into Egypt, then he wouldn't have a chance to be refined. So it was, like I said, it was that he went down there, and that's what happened. And it was a testing for him, and a chance for him to be refined and to understand what he had done. And then and if he hadn't done that, he would not be able to be a partaker of the Blessed Holy One, because he had to conquer evil. And it's an implication to the world and all of us, and that we are being tested to conquer the world. And the magic of Egypt, for example, and his children as well, they needed to become a unique people, and it was an opportunity for God to test and make the descendants of Abram perfect, and to draw them near to the Holy One, to Yahweh. They needed to be refined as well, so that they could become the chosen people, the special ones. Of course, we're talking about Israel, and the whole idea of testing and overcoming evil, and the refiner's fire, if you like. So this is the Holy Land that he's going back to, which at that point had been given to Canaan to control. So again, the descendants of Canaan. Canaan was actually the grandson of Noah, but she would not be given the ultimate portion that was given ultimately to Israel for the sake of the Blessed Holy One. To this day, of course, we still have this battle between Canaan and Israel.